This is Steve Ridgell, and I want to talk a little bit this morning about funerals and about how Christians respond to death and grief, not in our church family, in our community. Recently, Hillcrest, where I am in Hillcrest Church of Christ in Abilene, Texas, where I'm on staff, we recently hosted two funerals for, not Hillcrest people, and I want to tell you how that happened. One is a young family lost an infant at a month old, and it was horrible and gut wrenching. And the mom, when she was in high school several years ago, had come to Hillcrest actually, and she was baptized at Hillcrest. And then, as sometimes happens, you grow up and you wander away from Jesus and away from the church. But when that baby died, one of our staff members, Alan, his wife Jennifer, heard about it, and she remembered because their boys were in the youth group when the mom was there and had been baptized. And Jennifer reached out to this young mom, told her how sorry she was, wanted to know if the church could do anything. Well, this young family didn't have a church home. They had somebody to do the funeral because actually the chaplain at the sheriff's department, where one of them worked, was going to help with the funeral, but they didn't have anything else. So Jennifer, our staff member's wife, said, "Hey, we love you, we care, we remember you. You can have the funeral at our building. We'll do a funeral meal." And we did. We did all of that. Several of our people visited with them, connected with them. I helped do I really did the singing for the funeral. We did a funeral meal. We hosted them. And we invited her to come back to church when she was ready, invited her husband to come. He did not have a lot of Jesus background. But you know what? They've shown up several times in the last month because one of our members reached out and said, "What can we do?" And not just pray for you. A lot of our people worked on that meal, hosted the funeral, all the things we did. The very next week, we hosted another funeral. In this case, it was a teenage boy that was killed in an accident over July 4th. His dad and stepmom lived right across the street from the church. One of our members one Sunday morning coming to church, saw the family out in the front yard. And she said, I guess it was the Holy Spirit, they just looked sad. And she went over and introduced herself. "My name is Charlotte. I go to church here at Hillcrest, right across the street. Are y'all okay?" And they told her they had just lost their teenage son. And she went and got one of her elders. They prayed over him, said, "Boy, if there's anything we can do to help," and we mean that. The very next day, one of our members that lived around the corner, Lynn, goes over, and Lynn visited with them, offered our building if they needed somewhere to have the funeral, said we would do anything we could to help. Turns out they knew some of our members, and we ended up hosting that funeral. One of the grandparents is active in the church, and their preacher kind of knew the family, and he and I did the funeral together. And we hosted that. They ended up catering a meal, but we hosted the meal for them, and we fixed dessert for them. And they too have expressed interest in coming to church, finding out more about Jesus. You know, it's one thing to say we love our neighbors and we want to help. And it's another thing to say we'll pray for you. And prayer is incredibly, maybe the most important thing. It really is. But sometimes you just want members that go above and beyond and say, "What can we do?" And then really put their money, their time, their energy where their mouth is and really become the hands and feet of Jesus. So are both these families going to end up Christians and in church and at Hillcrest? I don't know, but God does. But I do know our people did the right thing. We tried to be Jesus in a horrible, horrible situation to both of those families. This is Steve Ridger telling you, let's get out there and really be who Jesus wants us to be in a lost and hurting world.